I think we're live.
What?
Yeah. Do you want to play the intro?
No, you do it this time. I'm drinking.
Okay. All righty. Hey, you are, by God. What does that say over there? Black
Feather.
Black
American
Feather.
bourbon whiskey.
Huh. Okay. I guess it's time to do the show.
It's time for the SHAT Show, baby.
I love this.
Bring it, bitches.
This is the TAO. Unknown submarine contact in the vital area. Away the Nifty team away. Away the Nifty team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters.
General quarters, long hands, ready by the station. General quarters, long hands, ready by the station.
Oh, wait. This is this is where I'd say the intro.
Yeah, it's not me. I'm just a guest.
Okay. Okay, tonight it's Shaun and BZ tearing through the gristle of today's screaming headlines and ripping out the sinewy tendons of truth ensconced within, all from the hoary streets of Sacramento, Fornicalia, exposing the trembling toadies. That's Hoary.
Whatever.
By the way, exposing the trembling toadies, the sniveling jackanapes, and the fripperous fopdoodles infesting leftist and progressive brain-housing groups nationally.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you fine.
Can you turn my headphones up?
Yeah, if I knew where that was. Oh, wait, no, okay. No, here. No, wait. I see it. It's hidden. It's hidden behind this.
There it is. Now keep going. Oh, yeah. We're dealing with fucking technology, baby.
Is that it?
No.
Oh.
No, not even kinda. There it is.
Okay.
All right, good. Now I can hear me.
Okay, great. Much better.
Which you would think that like I would get sick of my own voice, but when you're doing this,
it's always good to have that for a reference because you fail. The other thing is that what we hear on this end always sounds good because, quite frankly, these are two damn good mics.
Yes, they are.
And so the sound, I gotta say, the sound on SHR has gotten a lot better since 2016? 2017? Yeah, that's when we got these things.
That's when we started to upgrade.
2017. So we're happy about our sound input. And that's one of the reasons this is so funny. I mean, maybe not so funny, but kind of funny. Dan Butcher wanted me after you left the Wednesday night show, tonight's show, when it was the Sackhead show. Dan Butcher says, hey, come on over to Blogspot or Blogger. No, not Blogger. Blog Talk. Blog Talk. He says, because the phone thing is so much good. It's so much better. The phones are easier. And he says, and the sound is better. Okay, except one very important fact. Every Blog Talk radio show that I've listened to, in my experience, doesn't hold a candle to the sound that comes out of this studio right here. Now, okay, maybe we have some issues with phones. On the other hand, I can certainly regale you with the time that I called into Dan's show, and, oh, by the way, I couldn't call in because I guess the system wasn't taking calls that day.
And it's something, too, that, for our niche, our genre, for our budget, for what we do, there's no phone system that is designed for this.
No, you don't go out to the phone store and say, hey, I have a great internet radio, and I've got a board that costs $2,000, but I don't have a $10,000 board, and I don't want to spend $6,000 on a 12-line phone system.
Well, and you know, it's like everything else. We put a lot of pride in our quality of sound.
And it has changed. Wow.
And what Spreaker allows us, and Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube, the other places that we're at, what it allows us to do is the band or the width that we allow the sound to travel through is much higher than BTR is, who limits it to a point. So sometimes it sounds tinny.
Okay, so is that what they do? They kind of throttle down the sound?
Well, they throttle down the width of the sound that goes into it. I haven't checked what their parameters are recently, but I know as of a couple of years ago, you know, if we are at 128K stereo, so to speak, they were at 64. And seeing how we primarily push the audio portion of our show, which is changing, and I'll admit that, but it just didn't suit our need at the time. We were able to deal with the phone issues. Now we don't have any phone issues. We actually have numerous options for phone calls. And, you know, we were able to bridge that gap. You know, it's one of those things, it's like Tucker, A Man in Its Dream. When you see what you want your end goal to be.
That was a damn good movie.
It was a great movie. It's funny. I was telling somebody the story of Tucker the other day.
Okay, the star.
Jeff Bridges.
Okay, good.
I was telling somebody the story of Tucker the other day, a younger kid who had never heard of it. And I said, Tucker was one of those guys that the big three car makers at the time all went after because what he was designing back in the 50s, if I'm not...
So much better than
auto windshield wipers, all of these things. And I said, you have to watch the movie. You got to read the book. You got to read about Tucker himself. He was a great man with a vision and worked really hard and really... If he wasn't crushed by the big three, probably would have been the biggest car maker going right now. Ingenuity was through the roof.
Oh, and didn't he make, he ran a limited number of cars. He made, 58?
Yes.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. And then they literally drove him out of the car manufacturing business.
This is the worst intro the show has ever had. We haven't said anything about the show itself. We haven't said who we are. We haven't done anything to we haven't done a station check.
Maybe
we've done shit.
We're making just radical assumptions.
We are just going through the roof right now.
That people know.
It is 9 minutes past the hour, and we're talking about Tucker and cars in the 50s. We already shit all over Blog Talk.
Yeah, we did.
So, you know,
who's
what the
next?
Fuck, right?
Yeah. Hey, welcome to Whiskey Dale in chat.
Hey.
Welcome to...
I don't have
Michael in chat.
I don't have any of my electronics like I normally have.
I'll tell you what. I'll tap dance for a while if you want to go get it.
No, I'll break at the break. We can get through the first 30 minutes, and I'll log in and talk to everybody.
Okay, and of course we have in here Beantown Billy,
your favorite.
Thank you. Okay, there you go. Black Feather.
Yes, very good. Made out of Texas, which is
Texas.
Funny.
I do not associate Texas with whiskey.
Bourbon. Well, and it's funny that it gets to put the word bourbon on it because, to my understanding, that in order to be called bourbon, it has to come from that the specific region. But it's good. It's good. It's no Stranahan. Stranahan's my favorite bourbon made outside of the bourbon region, if you will.
Well, bourbon originally sources from the town Bourbon. North Dakota.
Right.
And people go from...
But now it's
they
all
come
Tennessee.
From all over the world to go to Bourbon, North Dakota.
But now it's all in Tennessee.
Yeah. The problem with that is that they spell it Burban.
Yeah.
And the O somehow was taken out of there. But originally it was spelled Bourbon.
Well, you know, nobody said that North Dakota can spell. So
no, did you know that there's a town in North Dakota called Frog Dick?
I did know that, actually. And
I almost went there one time on an extradition, and I thought, wow, I'm not that far. I was only about 600 miles away, so I wasn't that far. And I thought, hey, God, I'd just like to have a photograph of myself
in Frog Dick,
right under the town sign.
What if you only
that says "Welcome to Frog Dick"?
What
North
if they
Dakota.
only have like a town restaurant and it's called like the Frog Dick?
And
if you eat, you're only eating Frog Dick.
It's called the Frog Dick Inn.
Right. Frog Dick out.
Frog Dick out.
If there's a spa there, you can get a Frog Dick facial.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Whiskey Dale in chat says, brother, we have a whole lot of whiskey, bourbon, made in Texas.
Well,
My guess would be that Whiskey Dale knows something about it.
Well, and like
Whiskey.
I said, I know that there's American whiskey, and I was under the impression that if it's made outside of the typical Kentucky, Tennessee bourbon area, and it's not bonded to a certain way, etc., that it couldn't be called bourbon, but I stand corrected.
Well, if it's not bonded, it can't come in and clean your house, that's for sure.
Needs at least $1 million.
It does. All good whiskey is bonded,
Hell yeah, it is.
as a matter of fact. This is...
And bondage.
Okay.
That comes after the whiskey.
Okay, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, no. I didn't realize that was going to cause a story.
Yeah, here comes the story.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, when I worked for a large metropolitan California Sheriff's Department of 2,000-plus people, when I was in patrol, we had MCTs that were in the automobiles, and you had to log on.
Stop. Mobile computer terminals?
Okay, mobile computer or data terminals. Today, they've been replaced completely with laptops.
Yeah.
So back then, it was the predecessor to the laptop. It wasn't Windows-based. Each one was proprietary, and we happened to have some from DT, Data Terminal, Custom, and a whole bunch of other manufacturers. Anyway, the way it was configured is you had to log on. You had to log on with your unit. I was 48 David 1, which was out in the North Sacramento County area. And then you put in your last name and your vehicle number and all that stuff. Well, they had a field for you to add something, anything that you wanted to do. They had 10 letters on one line and 20 letters on the second line.
Well, naturally, you had to use that.
Right. And I did. Oh, boy, did I. I can bring it. I had a book of logons that were tailored specifically to fit in those areas. One of the logons was 5 o'clock Tuffy.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the other one that I was just thinking of was Penguins in Bondage.
Well, why would they not be?
And so another one that I logged on with was Ethel Merman Jams Russian Radar.
Ethel Merman. Very nice. Very nice.
And day after day, night after night, because I mostly worked swings, night after night I would log on with the most egregious crap. And my partner in the same district, he was 42 Dave Murray, logs on one night. One night he logs on with Run Silent, Run Deep. The lieutenant, I can tell you who it was, but he's passed away now. Lieutenant called him in at End of Watch and said, I don't ever want to see you log on with something like that again.
Was he an anti-submariner?
I don't know. Maybe he wasn't an anti-Navy puke or something like
hell?
that. But it's like, God, I've been logging on with all this salacious crap for years. And people, it got to be a thing where people would do a DR on me, a detailed resource, to see specifically at the beginning of Watch what I'd logged on with.
I can tell you, and I won't say how I know.
How do you know?
And I won't confirm anything.
Can you confirm that?
No. That in the state that I formerly lived in, and I won't give too much out.
Okay.
There is the registry computer for the state. The registrar of motor vehicles, same thing.
Okay. Oh, a DMV computer.
Right.
Okay.
And
oh, God, I got another story after this.
And when you look at certain people's names, page 1 has all their vital information.
Okay.
Page 2 has secondary information, i.e. aliases, secondary addresses, whatever.
By the way, Whiskey Dale says, you going to pour that or are you just going to look at it?
Oh, trust me, Whiskey Dale. It's already been poured a few times. And by the way, New Holland Brewing Company makes a product called Dragon's Milk. It's a bourbon stout beer.
A what?
Bourbon stout. So it's aged in bourbon barrels. Very good. If you have a chance, check them out. They don't pay me. Had it tonight. It was lovely. So anyhow,
okay.
Back to the registry story.
All right.
Under somebody's aliases, and this is how you know you may have pissed somebody off at the registry. When your alias last name is asshole, first name big.
That never happens.
If I swear, may lightning strike me if it's not true.
Thank God I'm about 10 feet away from you right now.
I saw that, and it's not often in my adult life I can remember almost peeing outside of a bathroom. That might have been one of those times, to be completely honest. And it was innocent. I hit page up, go to page 2. Holy shit, who did that? Who is the genius? And who did he piss off? The funniest part is, and I won't say anything else, I can remember his name. I can remember his address because of that one alias that was tagged onto it.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go back to about 1981.
Oh, Lord.
Right around in there. And so you've got a new boot.
Is this when Dispatch still sent the cards down?
Actually, it wasn't that far from that, because when I first got on to the police department, to basically law enforcement, like I said, the very first car I ever drove was the 1974 Dodge Monaco, which is, if you look at the Blues Brothers, that car in the original Blues Brothers is a 1974 Dodge Monaco.
Brilliant.
That's the exact same car I drove. And it did have a 440 power plant inside it. It went really fast in a straight line, didn't handle, and you couldn't brake. Other than that, it was a great car.
Right.
But you could, my God, it was like you could put a family of whales inside that car. One bench seat, and because it had a bench seat, you always made sure that whoever was driving was the dude with the long feet. Because if any short person was driving that car, then the passenger was feeling it, all the pain over on the right-hand side. So anyway, having said that, back in 1981, this particular deputy is working in the main jail, and he works graveyards in booking. And the reason he works graveyards in booking is because he hates the main jail, wants to be out in the streets, but he figures that if I'm going to be in the main jail, I don't want to be up on the floors where all the assholes are.
Right.
I want to learn something. I want to learn how to take papers. I want to learn how to ad book. I want to learn how to call up judges for bail increases or bail enhancements. I want to learn all that stuff. I want to learn all the codes, the vehicle codes, the penal codes. And so I sat at I just outed myself. So I sat at the booking window. Okay. Yeah, so, all right, I am that much of a... I am that much of a dumb shit, okay? I'll readily admit it.
Brilliant.
Okay, I'll readily admit it. Hey, in chat, hello to Andy. Good to see you here.
Oh, God, BZ.
So it's funny, and we had just gotten these computer terminals. Now, back in the day, if everybody remembers, they were big CRTs, and all the initial computer terminals were green.
Oh, yeah, green screens.
Okay, they were all green screens. And primitive, and it's like your worst dot matrix computer or printer back then, because our printers were dot matrix.
I had to learn how to reboot those because they would crash all the time.
Yeah, well, I didn't know how to do that. But anyway, so I worked graves, and which was the highest booking shift. At the time, I don't know what it is now. CHP in South Sacramento had the highest deuce booking rate of all of the state of California, which is a deuce is a drunk driver in CHP lingo. And so I was busy it was an 8-hour shift. I was busy until my ass sat down until I got up at the end of shift, which was great. It made the days fly
right by.
It was beautiful. So I come to work the next day, and the watch commander, a lieutenant, as soon as I sat down, he said, "You, come over here, relieve him." Allie, come over.
I'm the one who's been drinking.
Oh, I know.
I'm the one who's been drinking.
So he says, "Come over here. You're going to come into the watch commander's office." Sits me down and says, "Did you do something last night?" I said, "I booked a lot of people. I took a lot of paper. I had to call a judge, an on-call judge." You're still breaking up.
When I make the old jokes, it's reasons like this. That's why.
Okay, so he takes me into the watch commander's office and sits me down and says, "Did you do something last night?" And I said, I booked a lot of people, and I wasn't exactly sure what he was getting at, but there was another deputy with me, and we both conspired and sat down, and we both said, why don't we do this? So we did it over the computer. It was an inquiry. So he said, "I want to know why I got a call during the day, waking me up from the captain of the main jail here.
That's never good.
Asking me why it was that the Secret Service was calling him about a deputy in the main jail. And then it dawned on me. Then I started to get it, because then it finally began to sink in, because the deputy and I sat together and we thought, hey, let's try this new system, because we can get into CLETS, which is the California Law Enforcement Terminal System.
Yes.
And we have all sorts of stuff that we can do here. Let's do a test.
And
hey,
NCIC.
yeah,
and all that
that's
fun
all
shit.
sorts of cool
Triple
stuff
I's.
that we can get into in order to run these bad guys when they get arrested down here. So I thought, let's do a test, because I don't know any other names, but hey, let's find out. Let's find out if Ronald Reagan has any guns that are registered to him.
Oh, no.
Well, Ronald Reagan happened to be the president in 1981, if you remember. And he was sitting many miles away from me, so we both, I entered my password, and I went, like the proper format, Ronald Wilson Reagan, because I happen to know his middle name. And I found out that, yeah, he does have a lot of guns. And here's a list of what he had. So the deputy and I look at each other and go, fuck, this is cool. Let's print it all out. So we did. So we printed out a list of all the guns that Ronald Reagan had.
Oh, no.
And after having done that, then the very next morning at the crack of dawn.
Flag.
The captain of the entire main jail gets a nasty call from the Secret Service.
They do not like that.
Asking why your deputy is running our president for guns.
Just curious, really.
Yeah, that's all it was. That's what I said.
Now, folks, you have to remember, back in 1981, there wasn't all this privacy stuff. There wasn't all these things you have to sign. There wasn't people who...
Oh, we had just gotten this system. This system was brand new.
There wasn't somebody at Cal DOJ that went through and queried everybody who's using the system and if they're using it for appropriate reasons, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, we didn't have to sign our lives away back then.
Right. There was nothing about that. It was just like, hey, this is new and that nobody knows how to do anything with it.
And we actually learned something.
Yes.
We learned how to query an individual for guns. Well, who better than the president? Because I thought, okay, he was governor here in California. Why? He's a conservative guy. Why wouldn't he have guns?
Holy shit.
And, well, we found out,
You queried the president.
He has guns. Oh. So, no, actually, oddly enough, the watch commander argued in my favor, and I didn't get any paper.
Well, thank God.
So that was, I don't know why that came up.
I can't even imagine.
It just came up. God. And he was also very nice because I didn't have to call the Secret Service.
No.
And I didn't have to call them back. And whatever it was that the captain or the watch commander said to the Secret Service must have been okay. Right. It must have been an acceptable response. And, the stories. The stories. That's not even the tip of the iceberg.
I wonder...
of all the crap that I did at the main jail.
I wonder if when he got shot, if for some reason your query came up again at some point. Because you got to figure an incident like that, they'd probably check everything and double check it, right?
Yeah, who's to say? Who's to say?
I'm just saying, you may have a file.
There might be
in the shooting investigation of a president.
Back there used to be something called microfiche.
Yes.
And get your mind out of the gutter, folks. Not microfeces, but microfiche, which are little bitty, teeny fish that carry information. Mm-hmm. And microfiche used to be on these really small plastic sheets. So probably in someone's third floor basement vault in the Secret Service somewhere, there's a piece of microfiche plastic that has immured on it. Such and such a day, such and such a time, we talked to Captain blah, 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 who asked why his stupid damn deputy queried the President of the United States for guns and then printed it out.
I bet you they couldn't even tell.
It's in there somewhere.
I bet you they couldn't even tell back then that you printed it, but they definitely know you queried it. There's no doubt in my mind.
No, that's true.
I don't think that the reverse communication was the same way, but they definitely know that you checked it.
Yeah, I don't know if the technology existed for that sort of thing. Like I said, the first cop car that I got into, we had 4 channels,
Big Motorola radio head with
was
the four switches.
a radio Motorola head. I'm sorry, I take it back. We had 5 channels. Channel 1 was North. Channel 3 was South. Channel 2 was Records. Channel 4 was a TAC channel that nobody used, and Channel 5 was like a Claymar's car-to-car.
Yeah, car-to-car.
That's it.
Yeah, direct.
That's it. Yeah. And then depending upon the year of the car we got, we either had the shotgun mounted to the dashboard, or in one year, in the Catalinas, we had them mounted underneath our legs, underneath the seat, which was really stupid. And then we had 78 and 79 Catalinas. And that actually, the Pontiac Catalina Enforcers were damn good cars.
Let me ask you
and
this.
Then we also, one year, the 78 or the 77s, 78s, we had them affixed to the cage above our heads. Apparently, nobody could make a decision.
You had cages back then?
Yeah, we did have cages.
Holy shit.
Now, we didn't have spit guards.
Cages.
So occasionally you would find your head wet, because the wet head is not dead. It's just covered with spit from the loon in the rear seat.
Wow. I can't believe you had cages back then.
Yeah, we actually did.
And was your light system a single switch?
No, we had
5 rocker switches?
No, we had the flip switch, the horizontal switch. However, the first car that I had was a custom, because for whatever reason the department decided they weren't going to go out and buy the really cool looking semi-swoopy looking like oval light bars. Oh no, they had to fabricate the light bar, fabricate the mounts, and then over on the far left side was the right light, like a bubblegum machine, and over on the far right, on the far left was the red, and the far right was the blue. And then where was the siren mounted?
In the middle.
Right above our heads. That's before everybody.
Quiet.
Yeah, that's before everybody realized that. One of the reasons that cops can't hear crap
is because they have to sit under a siren
and
all the
when
day.
they talk on the radio, maybe someday we'll think about mounting the siren on the front. And
That's amazing.
The first sirens we had were what they call growlers. And for people who don't know what a growler is, some fire departments are actually going back to growlers
where you can feel it,
because they're actually louder than electric sirens. But before there were electric sirens, and basically they're this funny shaped cone, and there's friction that occurs when the electric motor kicks this bad boy up. But a growler also had a brake, because if you didn't brake the growler, you could run code 3 to a call, stop, get out, handle a call, come on back, and your siren was still going.
Yep. Well, now they call it the rumbler or whatever. They're using it on the East Coast, where on top of the audio, it's a sensory thing. So when your car radio's up or you can't hear, you can actually feel it vibrate in the car.
Really?
Yes. And
wow.
NYPD uses it. I know a lot of agencies on the East Coast are starting to use it where they have a lot of traffic.
And they're called what?
I think they're called rumblers or something like that.
What are they on that technique in some fashion?
So
they're not electronic.
They're electric. You have the electric audio side of it, but they also emit such a low bass frequency that it'll vibrate your car. You can feel them come up behind you. So if your radio's up or you're hard of hearing or whatever,
wow,
it makes you aware that there's an emergency vehicle behind you.
Would that ever be weird?
Yeah.
That would be really, really weird. Okay, so we've taken the first half hour. We've talked about growlers.
Totally useless.
We've talked about bourbon.
Totally useless.
We've talked... What else did we talk about?
I would say querying the president would probably be...
querying the president of the United States at the time, because that was a really good decision on my part, because I was a real big decision maker at the time, apparently. And so, folks, we'll get official. Hey, welcome to Mary Brockman.
Hi, Mary.
And good to see you. Anyway, this is the Sackheads Against Tyranny show, otherwise known as the SHAT Show. That is Sackheads Shaun over there. This is Sackheads BZ.
Yes.
Sackheads Rhinoplasty Clint is not here tonight, because as I described last night, he's getting a rhinoplasty to fix the rhinoplasty that went bad when the other rhinoplasty went bad.
The charm. 8th time's the charm.
Was it 8? I said 9 last night.
Oh, is it 9? I lose count.
I lost count, too. But anyway, you're listening, folks, to the Sackheads Against Tyranny. I'm BZ. That is Sean. We're going to take a break and be right back. Then we're going to get down to all the
business,
the wicked foolishness these days in D.C.
Oh, Lord.
OMG. My God.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. Cha-cha-cha. Before we get to Kavanaugh, and we are going to get to Kavanaugh, I found 3 really bizarre stories that I'd like to at least throw out to the ozone today. And I'm just, I go through all sorts of stuff. And these weird stories just happen to catch me. Here's one. I go to NPR, okay? This one's from NPR, but it's really weird, and it's pretty foreboding. The headline says, here in Latin America, Mexican authorities disarm Acapulco police, fearing infiltration by drug gangs. So the story then goes into this. Federal and state authorities in Mexico have disarmed the entire police force in the city of Acapulco as investigators look into suspicions that it has been infiltrated by drug gangs and the cartels. According to the AP, officers, this is a quote, were stripped of their guns, radios, and bulletproof vests and taken for background checks. Law enforcement duties in the seaside city of 800,000 will be taken over by soldiers, Marines, and state police.
Weird.
That was pretty creepy. And now, of course, isn't Acapulco like, well, I don't know if it is, but it used to be like this great resort seaside town?
Yes.
And so now you can't trust the police.
Well, it's Mexico.
In a major town. Well,
it's Mexico.
I took the Mexican Riviera cruise back in the mid to early 2000s. And we went on the Mexican Riviera thing. And we went into Cabo
San Lucas.
Cabo San Lucas. Tourists are dropping like flies because of the cartels. Yes. Tourists are getting shot.
Yes.
In Cabo San Lucas.
If you go to Mexico, I have a couple friends that own down there and visit down there on a regular basis, and I just shake my head. It is not a place that I want to go.
Why would you, now, these days, why would you want to go to Mexico?
No reason.
None. Then there was this story, and no one is covering this. No one is saying anything about it.
Well, why?
That's this story coming up. And this story should be shouted from the rooftops. People need to know this. You and I are both sort of fiscal hawks. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that the last budget that was brought before President Trump, didn't he say something similar to, okay, this is the last time you're going to bring a budget like this to me.
Yes.
I'll sign it this time.
But no more.
But next time, I'm not signing it.
Right.
Now, on that thought, here's an article from CNBC. Thank God for this, but again, not covered. As debt rises, the government will soon spend more on interest than it will on the U.S. military. That's frightening.
That's absolutely scary.
That's downright frightening. The federal government could soon pay more in interest on its debt than it spends on the military, Medicaid, or children's programs. The run-up in borrowing costs is a 1-2 punch brought on by the need to finance a fast-growing budget deficit, worsened by tax cuts and steadily rising interest rates that will make the debt more expensive. And, of course, out of nowhere now, they're starting to raise the interest rate.
Fourth time this year.
Yeah. So I looked at that and I thought, all right, it's about time this thing got covered, but nobody's covering it.
Well, I laughed.
Both you and I said, clearly, sometime in the future, this crap is going to tank.
Well, and here's a couple different things. I love how they blame the tax cuts.
Yeah.
Well, we're not bringing in enough money to cover our debt. Well,
yeah.
maybe if we stop fucking spending.
That's the other thing.
Why does the burden keep putting on the taxpayer in tax cuts when we've seen tax cuts over the years be successful?
That's true. That is very true. The other thing that people need to know is there's a little ploy carried out in Washington that if you don't fund each cabinet position or whatever it is, agency that's under all the cabinet positions,
yes,
if you don't give it more money than it got the previous fiscal year, they call that a cut.
Yes.
So in fiscal year 17-18, you could have, $1 billion. And then in fiscal year 18-19, if you don't get an increase and it stays at $1 billion,
$1.1 billion,
then that's called a cut.
Yes, because they're not assuming the cost of inflation and blah, 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 blah.
They're not getting any of that. The other thing is that I've got a great cut in here. And during the break, the next break coming up, I'm going to have to try to find it because it's 38 minutes of Trump kicking ass in the UN. God. And folks, I don't know if you heard Trump at the UN yesterday morning early.
This was really good.
It was absolutely fabulous. It was incredible. Now, Nikki Haley had an audio cut that I'm going to play about a minute and a half or so. And it was at Fox and Friends. And what occurred during the speech to the UN is that the guy with the dead orange cat on his head doubled down on America is sovereign.
Yes.
We don't answer to the ICC, which is the International Criminal Courts.
Yep.
We don't answer to Brussels. We are a sovereign nation. It's America first. And we find everything that you want to do out of the ICC completely invalid.
I agree with that.
So, yeah, I've been wanting, and as you and I discussed during lunch today, he also said, and by the way, the enemies of America, your foreign aid is dead to me.
Done.
How many years have you been wanting to hear a president say something like that?
Yes. You can say what you want. Look, I know a lot of people, he's loud and he says things he shouldn't say, and that's not how a president's supposed to act.
It was fabulous.
But bombastic is the word that I hear a lot. But the reality of the situation is it doesn't matter how his message gets across. The point of his message is amazing.
When he initially started it, I don't know if you heard the whole thing. When he initially started it, he made some kind of hyperbolic remark, like he always does. That's what he does. That's why we elected him. And he said, I've done more in my first 2 years than, I don't know. I don't remember the time frame. But he said, basically, I've done more in my first 2 years than so many other people have done as president. Okay, I don't markedly disagree with that. Okay, but the people in the UN started to laugh. And after listening to the thing, I was thinking, the fucking joke is on you, dickweeds, because he's slashing the crap out of you. And then after that, they weren't laughing so much
it's weird,
anymore.
Huh?
Yeah, very, very strange. Okay, so this is a cut with Nikki Haley on Fox and Friends talking about the address of Trump at the UN.
In the room when the laugh happened. Sometimes the media can portray it as one thing, and it's not that at all. What was it like, and why that reaction?
The media's got this so wrong. I deal with these leaders every single day. I know exactly how they think. Do they love America? No. Do they respect America? Now they do. When he said that, they love how honest he is. And it's not diplomatic, and they find it funny. I mean, when he goes and he is very truthful, they kind of are taken back by it. And
they're not used to it.
They're not used to it. But let me tell you, all day yesterday, they were falling over themselves to get a picture with him, to talk about how great his speech was, how strong it was. Whether he said good things about them or not, they love that he's honest with them. And they've never seen anything like it. And so there's a respect there. I saw that the media was trying to make it something disrespectful. That's not what it was. They love to be with him. That's the only time you'll see that entire chamber standing room only.
So it was the echo laugh. For example, I think a part of it was he pulled off the prompter and reacted in real time. It never happens at the UN. You read your story, the world is watching, you ad-libbed it.
And that made them love him even more.
So listen to how some proceed, and you deal with this every day, but Axios, who tends to be fair, their lead story is...
Okay, well, anyway, that was enough for that cut. But it's true. It's absolutely true. Now, here's another story that I find rather disturbing, but we're going to take up the entire second hour with Kavanaugh.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fine. Go ahead.
I know that for a fact because, my God, there's so much to say. But this is disturbing, and I really want to have your thoughts on this because this comes from Bloomberg, and the headline is, talk of U.S. military intervention in Venezuela suddenly gains traction. From Bloomberg, when President Donald Trump said a year ago the U.S. was considering a military option for Venezuela, hardly anybody in Washington thought that it was a good idea. Today, as Venezuela slides towards dictatorship and collapse, triggering a millions-strong migration crisis, support for such a move is being discussed openly. The notion of using force to topple the government of President Nicolas Maduro, who, by the way, is going to be in New York tomorrow.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, is gaining adherence, although it remains a distinctly minority view. Thoughts?
Yeah. So here's a couple different thoughts.
I sure did.
Number one, it is amazing to me when he says something a year ago and everyone, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this.
But then all of a sudden, a year later, they're like, hey, you know what? We were thinking maybe we should do something with Venezuela.
Yeah.
Not that the president said something like that. And look, me personally, I understand the humanitarian aspect of this. I absolutely do. There are millions of Venezuelans who are suffering right now. It is not their fault. It is the fault of a greedy government. It is the fault of socialism. It is the fault of pseudo-communism. It is the fault of the rich who stay rich and the poor who stay poor. And when you have a socialist society, talked about this time and again, capitalist society, yeah, you have to work for your wealth, but anybody has that opportunity. A place like Venezuela, the last 15 years, doesn't matter. You could have the best idea in the world, the government's going to take it and profit off of it, and you're not going to. So I understand the humanitarian aspect. Look, it's horrible down there right now. The news never talks about it, but if you go on YouTube, LiveLeak, some of these other citizen journalist websites, and you watch the videos coming out of there of them chasing around rats for lunch, and the hospital's just deplorable, and the president using the military to quell the protesters, all of these things that are happening, it's absolutely horrible. Do I think it is something that America should get involved in? My answer is no.
No, absolutely
not.
Absolutely not.
Now,
granted, Brazil and Colombia are going fucking nuts.
Right.
Because their borders are being invaded at a prodigious rate.
Why don't they do something?
It's like Europe and the Syrians flooding into all the other countries.
All over again.
Absent, the shadow of Islam.
Well, and you have to remember, BZ, after the Berlin Wall fell, after socialism fell, the mass migration out of Russia and all the former Soviet satellite states was incredible. But the biggest difference is they were gravitating towards places where you could work, and they wanted to work, and they wanted to start their lives over again. Because they lived under true communism for so long that the vast majority of people wanted that freedom to keep what they earn. Now it's different in Europe when you have, a 60% tax rate and all this other ridiculous, yay, socialism. But at the time, it wasn't like that. And they went to all these individual countries, and they helped build the countries. I dare say that you would call them positive immigrants. A lot of them assimilated. I mean, don't get me wrong, not every single one did, but it was a much different situation.
It is. I, again, completely concur. It's a much, much different situation. This is an interesting quote, however, from the story. Trump himself hasn't walked anything back on yesterday, at the UN. He told reporters who asked him about military intervention that he had no intention of broadcasting his plans. We've heard that before, adding, this is a quote, "It's a regime that frankly could be toppled very quickly by the military if the military decides to do that." So he's talking about an interior coup.
I love this because here's what he just did. He just sent a message to the president of Venezuela.
He sent a bomb. He said a verbal bomb.
Dude, we could take you out at any time. You may want to rethink, geez, where has this been used before? Right, North Korea. And now they're denuclearizing and they want to all of a sudden be a part of society. It is amazing when you have somebody who is not afraid to stand up and actually lead how people respond. He sent like you nailed it, he said a word bomb. He said to them, look, you're not as strong as you think you are. Just because you're strong within your own country doesn't mean you're that strong. And you need to start making some decisions. Do I think that we should get involved? No. Do I think Venezuela is an international travesty? Yes, but not on the level of North Korea. North Korea has nukes. You had to deal with it. They were a direct threat to our homeland. Venezuela is not a direct threat to our homeland. I feel
with one caveat. I would throw this caveat up, and that's why I believe that building the wall is incredibly important, because we have potentially an incredibly devastating immigration crisis on our southern border, because you and I both know that if for whatever reason, 500,000 Venezuelans get it in their heads that they're going to walk and migrate, they're just going to walk right into the U.S. You know for a fact, no one in California is going to stop them at that border.
Nope.
And there aren't enough federal law enforcement agencies and officers to be able to deal with it and what would potentially be a flood, which is why we need to build the wall. Build the wall.
It has to happen. We've talked about it time and again. And look, when you start talking about the border crisis in this country, more and more you're finding these Muslim immigrants who are attached to terror organizations that are coming over.
They're finding that a lot of the people that are coming in these days are coming from Pakistan.
Yes.
I just read a story about 2 days ago about how the number of Pakistanis coming in
are through the roof.
And as we know, why did Pakistan split from India? Because Pakistan is Muslim, boys and girls. Mm-hmm. So it's not like all these people are coming up. We have a serious problem at the border. And the other thing that no one is making any mouth music about is the terrible drug problem.
Yes.
We've got issues with immigrants, illegals, etc., killing American citizens, and simply using their feet to completely abrogate our laws, and they might get their ankles wet in, like 6 inches of the Rio Grande during the summer. Ooh, wow. And there are portions of our border that there's no fence, maybe barbed wire that's been trampled down for the past 20 years that you can, walk maybe 6 inches again over, and now you're into United States territory. It's got to stop. Drugs, illegals, people that are here to do us harm. And I said last night, and I'll say it again. Hey, look, folks, it isn't a racial issue. If fucking France was there instead of Mexico, and all the French were there, and they started to do to us what Mexico is doing to us, I would be saying the same thing.
Yes.
It's not a matter of melanin count, you boobs. It's a matter of sovereignty of the United States, which is why I go back to what Trump said, and I think I've got this queued up. No. Here's. Oh boy, do I have a couple of audio cuts for next hour when we start talking about Kavanaugh. Holy moly! But here I've got, if I can find it in my tabs. Here's President Trump. Now, he was talking yesterday at the UN.
Region. Thanks to the United States military and our partnership with many of your nations, I am pleased to report that the bloodthirsty killers known as ISIS have been driven out from the territory they once held in Iraq and Syria. We will continue to work with friends and allies to
I'm going to look here and see if I can find something about him ripping a new arsehole for the ICC. Okay, that's them laughing at him.
This is great news for our citizens and for peace-loving people everywhere.
Because
of the region to decide what kind of future they want for themselves and their children. As close to their homes as possible.
Anyway, while I do this,
2015 Iran.
he kind of went all over the map. I mean, he hit all of his talking points.
For decades, the United States opened its economy.
It hit every
product dumping.
Oh, here we go. Here, this is interesting.
We are systematically renegotiating broken and bad trade deals.
And so you have.
Last month, we announced a groundbreaking U.S.-Mexico trade agreement.
By the way, did you hear what he said about Trudeau today?
No.
People were asking him, well, why aren't you talking to Trudeau? And he said, Trudeau has no interest in talking to me, and he's not going to do anything about the tariff, so I don't have any interest in talking to him.
And just yesterday, I stood with President Moon to announce the successful completion.
Okay, let's keep going. I
States has just
this.
announced tariffs on another $200 billion.
I want to get to the ICC thing.
The states will provide no support and recognition to the International Criminal Court.
Here we go. Hang on. I found it.
There it
Trade
is.
imbalance is just not acceptable.
Okay, he's wrapping up trade.
China's market distortions and the way they deal cannot be tolerated.
And then?
As my administration has demonstrated, America will always act in our national interest.
Here we go.
I spoke before this body last year and warned that the UN Human Rights Council had become a grave embarrassment to this institution, shielding egregious human rights abusers while bashing America and its many friends.
How long have you been wanting a president to say this?
In their own house.
To the United Nations, Nikki Haley, laid out a clear agenda for reform, but despite reported and repeated warnings, no action at all was taken. So the United States took the only responsible course. We withdrew from the Human Rights Council, and we will not return until real reform is enacted.
It's amazing.
For similar reasons, the United States will provide no support and recognition to the International Criminal Court.
Yeah.
As far as America is concerned, the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy,
this is it,
and no authority. The ICC claims near universal jurisdiction over the citizens of every country, violating all principles of justice, fairness, and due process. We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism. Around the world, responsible nations must defend against threats to sovereignty, not just from global governments, but also from other new forms of coercion and domination. In America, we believe strongly in energy security for ourselves and for our allies. We have become the largest energy producer anywhere on the face of the earth.
True.
The United States stands ready to export our abundant, affordable supply of oil, clean coal, and natural gas. OPEC and OPEC nations are, as usual, ripping off the rest of the world.
I love this.
And I don't like it. Nobody should like it.
If he had said right there, OPEC can go suck it, you know what? I wouldn't have been
we
shocked.
We defend many of these nations for nothing.
Listen
and then
this.
They take advantage of us by giving us high oil prices. Not good. We want them to stop raising prices. We want them to start lowering prices. And they must contribute substantially to military protection from now on. We are not going to put up with it, these horrible prices, much longer. Reliance on a single foreign supplier can leave a nation vulnerable to extortion and intimidation. That is why we congratulate European states such as Poland for leading the construction of a Baltic pipeline so that nations are not dependent on Russia to meet their energy needs.
Oh, my God.
Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course.
Now, do you remember when... first things first. How long have you been waiting for a president to say something like that? I'd say, for me, at least 20 or 30 years.
My adult life.
And now, the guy that everybody hates is setting boundaries and treating the rest of the UN like what they are. Kids.
Yes.
Kids, these are the boundaries. You better not go over them.
Don't forget the second message that's there. He was talking about the ICC. He said, we won't answer to an unelected, unaccountable bureaucracy.
Yeah, comma, Brussels.
Comma, the UN.
Yes.
The UN is an unelected bureaucracy.
But he just poked a finger right in the UN, and he poked a finger right at the EU, right there in Brussels.
Without a hesitation.
There's more to this, folks, and if you haven't, let me tell you where you can find it. If you want to go to YouTube, this is what you have to enter in order to get the full 38-minute speech. And I highly recommend that you do exactly that. It's called Trump Touts America First Agenda at UN General Assembly. Beautiful. Full speech. If we had the time, I'd play the whole rest of the thing, but we don't. And we've got a topic that is most def going to take us through all of the second hour. Folks, you're listening to Sackheads SHAUN and Sackheads BZ. We are the SHAT Show. We are the Sackheads against tyranny. Be right back.
There is breaking news on Kavanaugh.
Oh, wait.
As soon as we get back, we'll get it.
What's that?
Breaking news story just came out about the Kavanaugh investigation. It's just going to get crazier.
Okay.
So I'll tell you right now, it's going to be huge. Stick around. You don't want to miss this.
Okay. All right. Well, then, what a way to tease. Now, that's a perfect radio tease. So we're not going to tell you what it is, but in the meantime, here's a bunch of promos.
Listen to our shit.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The Right Guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Folks, you are listening to Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's the second hour. It's after the witching hour. It's 6 minutes after midnight on the East Coast. It's 9:06 on the left coast. And it's 1759 and 17100.725 subsector 3 paragraph 4 in Bolivian time. And when last we spoke, before the promo, Sackhead Shaun said that he had just gotten wind of something really important in the news. And when he told me that, I went and I wrote in chat here, OMFG. So, holy crap. You know, just when you think things couldn't get fucking weirder, things get fucking weirder.
Weirder,
yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So hit it, dude. You know it. You talk about it. Holy crap!
This just came in 7 minutes ago from Fox News. It's titled and it's written by Greg Ray. Ahead of pivotal Senate hearing, witnesses surfaced to say Christine Ford may have mistaken them for Kavanaugh. We all know that she's going to testify tomorrow. It's a prepared statement that she's already released.
See, I wonder truly. I asked last night, lay me your percentile of what you think the chance will be of her truly appearing in person tomorrow. I think it's 50-50.
I think it's still 50-50. However, tonight, Republicans on the committee have verified that they're speaking to two different individuals, both males, who said that there is a chance that Dr. Ford confused Judge Kavanaugh with them from all of those years ago. They received an in-depth written statement from a man who they interviewed twice previously, who believes he, not Judge Kavanaugh, had the encounter with Dr. Ford. And there's another man that they've been in contact with via the telephone as well, who they've interviewed, who's making a similar claim as well. You already have 65 women that came out and spoke on his behalf.
Right.
That went to
and at least college. 2 or 3 of which are still going around on the media circuit and continuing to say that they're not getting paid to do any of this, but it pisses them off to the point where they're going to all these various shows and saying, I'm part of the 65 women. I signed this document is because I completely believe in this man. And what all these other people are saying is unmitigated bullshit.
Well, you're also getting BZ from this week. People who went to Yale with Judge Kavanaugh getting random cold calls from CNN, essentially baiting them, hey, did you know Judge Kavanaugh? Were you around for any of these parties? Blah, 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 blah. So it tells you the extent that CNN's going through. Look, I hate to say it, but when you start casting such a wide net, you could get despondent people who are going to respond and lie.
This is so far over the top.
But now, in all of this that's going on, and this weasel lawyer who's dredging out another
right, Michael Avenatti.
victory, You have that going on. You have the 4chan allegation that he was trolled by them. You have Dr. Ford. You have the other one. You have all these different things going on. You now have the lawyer for Dr. Ford seen coming out of a meeting with Hillary Clinton 3 days ago in a photo.
That went viral as Hillary Clinton. You can see her walking to the left behind Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
About to get into a van, it looks like, and the Secret Service are there. It's her attorney. This is... You can't convince me this isn't paid and funded all the way through.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that bothers me about this. Look, the biggest thing that happens when you have these false claims being entertained on this level is it destroys true victims, people who have been truly victimized.
It completely destroys credibility.
And it destroys all credibility. And look, I've had this conversation with a couple different people. They said, well, you have to believe her. And I said, why? And they got all offended.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, look, you have to understand something. The woman who legitimately walks in sobbing, crying, says, this has happened, I have evidence, this, that, and the other thing, is a much different story. But when you have uncorroborated allegations, and the guy I was talking to was a male, which even shocked me even more, and he's like, well, I know people who've had to resign just over the allegations, and that's how it's done in the private sector. And I said, well, does that make it right? Look, if you're going to go off this baseless ideal that anybody can walk in and make an allegation of a sexual nature, and it's not just woman v. man, man v. woman, it's man v. man now, woman v. woman,
and anybody should be taken down because of it. Make an allegation, take your enemy down.
Right. You make an allegation, and they're walking out 4 hours later with their box full of shit, and now they're looking for a new job. Good luck getting one.
Screw substantiation.
Right.
Screw corroboration.
And that doesn't mean that there aren't true victims out there, but you also, and I said in my post, look, I have a daughter and a son. I hope to God that this ideal of these baseless allegations to destroy people go away. I'm not saying that every single allegation is baseless. What I'm saying is there is enough there to cause pause. And I hope for my son's sake that times change and a little bit of innocence is allowed back to youth and youth activities. And by innocence, I don't mean that the parties or whatever are considered innocent, but the mindset is considered innocent. On the other hand, God forbid anything should ever happen with my daughter, I don't want her turned into a political sideshow for the basis of political gain when you have the likes of Chuck Schumer and other people coming out and pushing all of these issues. And you have evidence that they're promoting this and pushing this and they're wanting this to go forward. You had somebody, and I had the quote earlier, I may have sent it to you, who essentially was caught in social media saying, we had to do whatever we could to stop Kavanaugh, and we will do whatever we do to stop Kavanaugh.
I completely believe that. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't believe that.
And I said,
the stops are off, they're gone.
You can't look at the timing. You can't look at everything that's going on. Look, they're going to lose the Supreme Court. I think Kavanaugh's still going to be, it's going to be a shit show, but I think he's absolutely going to be confirmed because they're not talking about him as a jurist. That's the thing that bothers me.
Yeah, these are all ad hominem attacks, and the reason, I mean, this is, for fuck's sake, folks, I sat in stands, I had to testify. Everyone knows that when an attorney doesn't have the facts, and a good attorney never asks a question that he or she doesn't know the answer to, unless you're really grasping, absent facts and evidence, you go for ad hominem attacks. Yes. They can't attack Kavanaugh on his credibility or his knowledge. What's left? Well, let's find someone that says this. Now, when you...
who allegedly made a claim on social media when... Judge, what's his name was being confirmed. Gosh, I can't even think of his name right now. I'm sorry. That somebody just has to go out there and accuse this guy of sexual harassment so he can't get confirmed.
I, in anticipation of this show tonight, I have so many stories lined up. You made mention of one, and I'm going to find it here because I told you at lunch. I thought that InfoWars had gone back for information and had information. Okay, here we go. Here's a story from InfoWars, and just because, folks, it's from InfoWars doesn't make it. I'm an adult. I can tell the silly shit from real shit. Okay, and if you can't, I'm sorry, but wake the fuck up. Okay.
Well, and InfoWars has both.
And InfoWars does have both, but I know when they're bullshitting generally, and I know when they're not. Here's an article. It says Kavanaugh accuser, and I know this for a fact. There's a reason that Christine Blasey Ford erased all of her social media history before coming forward, according to reports. Okay, remember? What's her name? Feinstein got the letter from her in July. She sat on the damn letter. However, not long after that, two very important things occur. Number one, she takes a polygraph. Who paid for that? Why would you take a polygraph if you intend to be absolutely anonymous? And simultaneously, she also lawyers up. Well, if your intention is not to have your name spread because everyone that's on the left is saying she never intended for her name to get out there, bull fucking shit, okay? You don't lawyer up. You don't take a polygraph. I know for a fact I can beat a polygraph because I've done it before, and I bet you can too. So I place absolutely no esteem whatsoever in a polygraph.
There's a reason they're not allowed in court proceedings.
But exactly. And I've beat a CVSA. Everybody said, well, you can't beat a CVSA. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can, if you know how. But that having been said, there's another reason that she went back and all of a sudden, I must erase all my social media, which is what she did. Now, then I said, oh, wait, there's another story. And why did she erase her social media? Well, as we were having lunch today, you said something similar to, hey, didn't InfoWars capture some screenshots or something like that of her social media before she actually erased it? And that made me, as soon as we left, I put that in my little tickler file, and the brain housing group went back quick like a bunny and found this story from InfoWars. Bombshell, Kavanaugh accuser, salacious high school yearbook scrubbed. Christine Blasey Ford's yearbooks describe wild sex parties, blackouts, and erotic male dancers. Stop. BZ, you're attacking the victim. Okay. Who put themselves out on Front Street? Was it me? Was it you? No, it was a leftist, Dianne Feinstein, and her. There was a meme that came out, and I'm gonna find it here. I just got this from a buddy, and it's this. I just received that, and it's how incredibly insightful is this? It says, how very strange that as a teenager, Brett Kavanaugh only molested ultra-liberal women connected to George Soros. Funny how that works out. So we haven't seen one real conservative woman step up and say, well, I felt left out. He molested me too. I'm certain that must have happened as well.
Well, and again, you could argue that, for 30 years he was a conservative and running around in conservative circles or whatever, and that's fine. But the reality of the situation is, I don't find any of this evidence to be plausible, and it's amazing how many people are pointing to what happened with Bill Cosby.
Each accuser, they're diametrically opposed, cases.
And I've even said, no, I think Bill Cosby should rot in prison and die.
Man, he's probably going to do exactly that.
And it's a shame that he allowed his legacy to become that, but those were his choices, and that's what he did.
Exactly.
However, that was a court of his peers. There was substantial evidence. There was physical evidence. There was all these different things. You have witnesses. Look, the witnesses that she's alleging have already come out and said, hey, this didn't happen.
Well, there were 4 people that were specifically named. That said, now we're going back to Ford. We're going back to the first accuser. There are 3 now.
Yeah.
The second one is a chick named Ramirez, and the third is, I don't even know. I've got a great story about that too. And another story linked to Avenatti. It's just, my God. So anyway, like I say, she put herself out on Front Street. So me and anybody else digging up any information on this person due to her unsubstantiated and uncorroborated claims, I'm sorry. You're fair game.
If she walked into Grassley's office 2 weeks ago and sat down and said, hey, Senator Grassley, I have something I have to tell you, this would be a totally different conversation. The fact that she went to Feinstein, the fact that she went to a politician first, the fact that Feinstein...
Well, she went to her local congresswoman.
Right.
And who then went to Feinstein.
Right. She went to a politician. And then you have Feinstein holding the letter,
or the
holding
police.
it all up. Yeah.
Or the police.
I mean, there's a million different things.
There are so many other ways you could have handled this.
That would add more validity in my brain. Look, if she never made herself be known, it would add more validity. There's just a lot of questions I have.
Each accuser gets more stupid also as well.
Yeah.
Well, back to this article. It says, Christine Blasey Ford's high school yearbooks, which were filled with references to drunken, promiscuous parties where the attendees were not able to remember what happened, have been scrubbed from the internet. There's a blog called Cult of the First Amendment that saved copies of the yearbooks before they disappeared. So she claims that Brett Kavanaugh physically and sexually assaulted her during a party in the 80s. Ford's yearbooks, which cover her sophomore, junior, and senior years, the exact same time frame when she claims the assault happened, portray a debauched environment of constant binge drinking and partying. Well, okay, stop. Tons of teens do that. That's not necessarily the issue unless you make it the issue. And there's some quotes in here. Lastly, one cannot fail to mention the climax of the junior social scene, the party, reads one passage. Striving to extend our educational experience beyond the confines of the classroom, we played such intellectually stimulating games as quarters, Mexican dice, and everyone's favorite, pass out, which usually resulted from the aforementioned two. Another passage emphasizes how loss of consciousness at such parties meant that attendees only retained hazy memories of them. Here's another quote. And there were always parties to celebrate any occasion, reads one passage. Although these parties are no doubt unforgettable, they were only a memory lapse for most, since loss of consciousness is often an integral part of the party scene. Now, in and of itself, that's no big deal. But Christine Blasey Ford went out of her way to make it a big deal. Right. So once she made that, she brought those items at issue. In my estimation, it's complete fair game to do exactly this in return. Because quite frankly, and especially now, it's like you and I talked at length. Prove a fucking negative. Mm-hmm. Okay? Anybody that's listening, people that are listening live or in chat or in the podcast, you prove that you didn't hit my car in 1982 and that you weren't guilty of a hit and run with me. I have my damaged car. Oh, well, I've sold my car since then. But I know for a fact that you damaged my car and my neck is screwed up because of that. And it's been screwed up since 1982, and I'm coming after you, and you are responsible. Now prove you didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
You know, it used to be...
Because these are the easiest cheap shots to make, which is why they're being made.
It used to be that the prosecution had to prove their case. And now, and I think it was Schumer or somebody else, one of the other Congress people came out and said, it's up to him to prove that he didn't do it.
Oh, okay. I've got somewhere...
And I said to myself, what is fucked up with our society why does he have to prove he didn't do it? When does that become a thing?
Yeah.
And that's something that bothers me. And it's not just with sexual assaults in this country. There's a lot of different places that sort of mentality gets attached to. I use this analogy all the time when I try to explain to people the importance of having a system in place of due process and or otherwise. And Big Fat Paulie, an old friend of mine, used this analogy to me, and it's the best one I could think of. He goes, look, you walk into a crowded bar, Friday night, there's 400 people in there drinking. There's a guy sitting down at the end of the bar that you don't like. He took a job from you, went out with your girlfriend, whatever. All you have to do is go, hey, everybody excuse me. Everyone pay attention. This is really important. That guy sitting down the end of the bar, Bill with the blue shirt, molested my daughter 3 nights ago. Have a good night.
Yeah.
And walk out.
Yeah. And that's not entirely dissimilar with what Ford did.
Right.
Is she pulled the pin on the public media grenade, opened the SCOTUS door in the hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and threw in the hand grenade, slammed the door, and said, "By the way, I'm not responsible."
Well, but the outcome to that story is, what do you think happened in a room full of people who are all emotionally charged on alcohol now? And this guy, Bill, whether he did anything or not, do you think that there's not going to be at least one or two people that are going to go up and take a pop at him? This is exactly what's going on. There may be other people who sit in that bar and go, yeah, you know what, Bill touched my kids too.
Yeah, and then somebody that's inebriated will say, I'm pretty sure that he touched my daughter as well.
Yeah, he looks like that same son of a bitch that kicked my dog.
That I know for a fact did that.
And the court of public opinion has now made a decision, baseless, factless, and now Bill and Judge Kavanaugh have to sacrifice themselves, if you will, to the court of public opinion. Now, what we're seeing on the Grand Theater with Judge Kavanaugh, it's a political assassination, right? It's a personal assassination. It's words and it's his reputation. But the step from there to the guy, Bill, who's now getting the shit kicked out of him in the alley behind the bar by 5 guys who are drunk and believe the guy that walked in.
It's like everybody compares it to the Arthur Miller play, The Crucible.
Yes.
Okay. God, if I'd been thinking, if I had a producer, I would have had queued up the Monty Python thing about the witch. But instead, I have another witch, because this witch, like Feinstein, is saying ridiculously stupid crap.
Go.
Okay, come on. Oh, by the way, I should tell you, she's from Hawaii.
Yes. Of course it helps that there are women on that committee, but you know what? I expect the men in this country and the men in this committee, and many of them, believe me, because we all signed on to this letter to demand an FBI investigation, but really, guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country, and I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing for a change. Okay, you can see I'm a little upset by this, the unfairness of...
Okay, take a big cup of shut the fuck up. Step up. What does that mean? Step up. Step up. What does that mean?
Shut up and step up.
Yeah. So...
And I don't understand. Look, here's the problem with this ideal that... All right, let's go to Crazy Town. Let's go to the Kabuki Theater that they all want to live in right now. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Judge Kavanaugh did, in fact, do what he's accused of doing. How is every other animal with a penis in this country now responsible for that? I don't understand this. And I made this analogy when I had this argument. Look, if somebody of a specific race is convicted of a crime, does that mean everybody of said race is also guilty of that crime?
All the leftists would tell you, no, you're ridiculous for doing that.
How dare you?
Yeah. So why doesn't that apply here?
Why? And look, if you're a male on the left right now and you're supporting this, I don't understand. I've seen so many women come out and say, this could be my son, this could be your son, this could be my husband, this could be my brother. This is a scary precedence. It is a frightening precedence to live here. It is an absolute disgusting precedence to live here.
Well, basically, the Senator Hirono is saying that, hey, due process?
The Wall Street Journal editorial board wrote a piece about the presumption of guilt, they say. They quoted you directly to argue that a core tenet of American law is not being applied to Kavanaugh. They write, quote, the democratic standard for sexual assault allegations is they should be accepted as true merely for having been made. The accuser is assumed to be telling the truth because the accuser is a woman. The burden is on Mr. Kavanaugh to prove his innocence. This turns American justice and due process upside down.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That is absolutely correct. Now let's listen to Hirono, the female senator from Hawaii, respond.
What's your response?
If the Wall Street Journal really cares about due process, I'd say that they should care that there is no independent investigation of these allegations.
What?
I think that this kind of attitude is what makes it really difficult for victims and survivors of these.
Consideration of due process makes it very difficult for victims. That's what she just said.
Kinds of traumatic events to even come forward You know, we don't seem to have come very far from the Anita Hill days. But as I said, for the Wall Street...
Okay, so for us to come forward,
we have to
in
just
her
believe.
mind, now we do need to eliminate due process. Am I misunderstanding her, Sean?
I agree wholeheartedly. That's what she said. And look, I'll take it a step further. If she wants to go and these women want to go to the local law enforcement agency where these crimes allegedly happen and file a report, that is the procedure.
Nothing is stopping Professor Ford from doing exactly that.
The FBI does not investigate.
With some very serious, massive caveats. Number one, exactly what you said. Where's my bell? The FBI does not investigate local crimes. They investigate federal crimes. They do background investigations. Oh, wait, what do we already know that people have said 1 billion times? The FBI already backgrounded Judge Kavanaugh 6 times, to the point where he was backgrounded under the Bush administration because he had access during certain points to the nuclear codes. In my business, my former business, that's called a Q clearance.
Mm-hmm.
To get a Q clearance, because there are all so many subsets of that kind of stuff, they open up the anus of your dog and look inside.
Right, and rightfully so.
And so in all that time, this never came up.
Nobody. It's funny to me because I know, let's look at basic police officer backgrounds, right? They go to the neighborhood you grew up in. They talk to all your neighbors. They do. They'll go to your high school in some cases. They'll talk to people you went to school with.
They go through your financials.
They do everything. And that's just to be a cop, right? They go to houses and talk to neighbors.
They do indeed.
They go to where you grew up. They go to the people you hung out with. And they try to figure out what type of person you are. You think that through all of these investigations that were conducted, that this didn't happen? And if it was so well known, and here's the other point, I know we're up against the break. If all of these things going on was so well known, if Brett Kavanaugh was such a horrible human being.
Right, and this was common knowledge.
And this was such common knowledge. You telling me not one person would be like, that fucking deviant? You guys are investigating him? Oh, shit, no, here's why.
Yeah. And here's why I need to talk. Thank you for showing up on my doorstep. Boy, do I have a tale to tell you.
It's a scary precedence when you can... This is the political version of shouting fire in a crowded theater.
And with that, we're going to be back with so much more stuff. Folks, don't go back. You're listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny with Sackheads SHAUN and Sackheads BZ.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's against tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads against tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Well, that's it. This is the final segment. And still, we've got so much to talk about.
So much.
Including Demi, the studio cat.
Speaking of,
there she is. Okay, I got here tonight, and you were out on the patio. And I tell you, folks, SHR really does have a studio, and the studio is connected to a bathroom and a kitchen, and there's a patio. It's a beautiful patio out there. So you're out on the patio, and I come on inside here, and Demi starts, she's the local studio cat. She's a calico cat. So she starts around my legs.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, she either wants to go outside, because there's no cat box in here, and she'll tell you when she wants to go out.
She's very good like that.
She's excellent with that. So I thought, okay, I had heard that she will only drink water from the tap, fresh water from an open tap. So that's what I did. I went into the bathroom. She jumps up on the counter, and I think, okay, well, that's pretty obvious. Okay, there she is. As a matter of fact, right there, she's in your lap. That's Demi, the studio cat, folks. She's a great little calico. So anyway, I open up the tap, and the water starts running, and there she goes, just...
Oh, yeah. She only drinks fresh water. She won't drink it out of a bowl. I've tried.
That is so funny. And we were talking about that during the break. Anyway.
We have our own mascot.
Yeah, we do. We have two. We have Clyde, courtesy of Whiskey Dale,
and a not so live cat,
the live kitty, and sooner or later we're going to get Clyde Cam back again.
Yeah, I got to work on that.
We're going to get a couple of sort of wider view cams for the studio, but yeah, we got Clyde, and now we got Demi. Demi's the live one. Clyde is the nasty one.
I just feel like I spend a lot of time here, so I should get more done, I guess.
Yeah, right. Right. Let's go back here a little bit. There's the article. Okay, Michael. Oh God, to get this into perspective, into line. There was Christine Blasey Ford, who made the first allegation that pretty much is completely unsubstantiated. We already said that 4 of the people that she named have since come out and said, no, that's not what happened. I wasn't there.
Right.
And that's about where she stands at this point. Then a second person came out. Now, Christine Blasey Ford has a history of being a leftist. And the funny thing is, a long time ago, in 1995 or 1996, Kavanaugh's mother, named Martha, was a judge in a court in which the Blasey family had a case. And Kavanaugh's mother ruled against the Blasey family with regard to a mortgage, and they lost some money, and I guess they went they went bankrupt or lost a house. So, hey, no reason to go against Kavanaugh. No motivation there, no axe to grind or anything like that. So it turns out also Blasey's brother has also been linked up with Fusion GPS. So these are people. I'm not making this crap up. I talked.
You can't. No, you can't make this up.
No, I talked all about that on the Tuesday night show last night, and no, that was last week that I was talking about that. So now we know the background of Christine Blasey Ford. Deborah Ramirez has now since come up, and there are a ton of inconsistencies about her, to the fact that even she admits that, well, it might not have been Kavanaugh.
Right.
Then, just when you're thinking, because last week I said, okay, here's the difference between him and Weinstein. You'll find that things tend to be more valid when you have not just an individual accuser, but you have a series of accusers like Weinstein and Cosby with corroboration and evidence that is amassed, indicating a continuous pattern or a trend of actions or inactions that were displayed. Then we get the second accuser, Deborah Ramirez, whose accusations hold even less water than the first accuser. Then we get Michael Avenatti, who has clearly said that he's running for president in 2020. As Tucker Carlson has said, he's the creepy... And by the way, that phrase for Avenatti has gone viral. Everyone now calls him, as per Tucker Carlson, the creepy porn lawyer.
Yes.
Because he represented Stormy Daniels. Now I find out there's a story, if I can...
This is just ridiculous.
It's like, okay, you go back and you do all this investigation, you do this work, and okay, here we go. Now, the date on this story is important. This is a story that I found from the LA Times. Bankruptcy judge hits Michael Avenatti's firm with restraining order to freeze legal fees in 54 cases. Michael Avenatti's from Los Angeles. So what it turns out is he has unpaid debts of more than $10 million, unpaid debts and back taxes. That's July of this year. July of this year. What do we know about July of this year? Now, that having been said, does that kind of tend to lend any credibility as to why it would be that Michael Avenatti would, I can't think of any word than pimp himself for Stormy Daniels in order to recoup money, because he needs an assload of money, clearly, and why he would be motivated to represent the third person now. It's just like, okay, now... Kavanaugh is an attempted rapist. Okay, he took advantage apparently of a woman. He pressed himself against her clothes, and she felt embarrassed and ran into the bathroom. Now, the second woman, Deborah Ramirez, says she's pretty sure that it was Kavanaugh who waved his dongle in front of her face when she was plastered. Now, the third woman essentially says, oh, no, now I know that Kavanaugh is involved, and he probably is a gang rapist.
Yes.
that's when the meme from BZ comes out, and that's when I would say on Twitter, AYFKM.
Mm-hmm. Are you fucking kidding me?
Are you fucking kidding me? Because the next thing would be, when he was a child of 5, he would go down to the local SPCA and set kittens on fire.
Yes.
That's next.
Well, when he was born, he was found exposing himself to 3 female nurses.
Yes. Oh, that one is true. Boy, is that ever true.
The craziness that goes along with this is, let's talk about the third victim. If he is, in fact, in joint venture, or was in joint venture, sexually assaulting and or raping women by and large, where are the other co-conspirators? Who are they?
Well, yeah. Again, he took her by way of a tweet and put her name,
everything about her,
and her photo, which I'm looking at right now on my laptop, out on Front Street for his own personal gain. Because the clue is, when you see the attorney plastered all over TV, but you don't see the client, that's called a clue. That's called a massive clue.
Well, in reality, you also have to look, there's so many other prominent lawyers who deal with this sort of an issue. I brought up Gloria Allred and all those other ones who have a tendency to come to the surface for this.
Right.
Why wouldn't you go to any of those? People that have had experience in dealing with, whether you like Gloria Allred or you think she's absolutely a bitch or whatever, the simple fact of the matter is she has experience in this. And if you have slight credibility, she's going to take it and run with it. She's done it a bunch of times. Why would you go to Avenatti? Because he repped Stormy Daniels, and he didn't even do a damn good job of it?
Okay.
Because what's ever come out of that? Nothing.
Well, yeah.
Not even a civil case like Clinton got.
The female's name, the third accuser, Julie Swetnick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, specifically, this is a quote, and you tell me where the direct linkage is. In approximately 1982. Gee, I wonder where she got that year. It wouldn't be from Ford, would it? No, nothing like that. In approximately 1982, I became, by the way, Sean, these are sworn affidavits.
Yes.
I mean sworn affidavits, so they get much more credibility than anything else.
Right.
In approximately 1982, I became the victim of one of these gang or train rapes where Mark Judge, a specific name, and Brett Kavanaugh were present. Shortly after the incident, I shared what had transpired with at least 2 other people. During the incident, I was incapacitated without my consent and unable to fight off the boys raping me. I believe I was drugged using Quaaludes or something similar placed in what I was drinking. Stop. She's going to high school parties, juniors and seniors. She's in college. What is a college woman doing going to high school parties, and then later on in her allegation, she says something similar to, yeah, there were at least 10 of these.
Right.
At least 10 of these that I went to, and stop.
You kept going back?
Just like everyone said, I think it was Chevy Chase or something like that. Everyone knows everybody there. These are extremely small circles. And if it's true that these were serial parties where there were serial gang rapists, and all the moms and dads, just as you pointed out, would have throttled the living fuck out of anybody responsible for something like this.
Mm-hmm. And rightfully so.
And the local law enforcement would have loved to go investigate allegations of this kind. So you don't think there's any onus upon you as a victim to say something similar to, once I've witnessed this, before I become a victim myself, maybe it would behoove me by my actions or inactions to stay the hell away from things like this. But no, that apparently didn't occur.
Yeah. I don't...
Everything here stinks.
It is so bizarre. And it's so much so that, and listen, we're having the conversation again, in this country, after we've had how many people over the last 10 years be accused of something and then you found out it didn't happen, right? You had college stars lose everything over this. You've had
the Duke lacrosse series,
all these different things.
Tawana Brawley.
You have women who are doing prison time for lying. You had a kid who was just got out of jail, I don't know, last couple weeks because 8 years ago when he was a college junior, I think he was sentenced to 25 years for rape on this woman, and she was messaging with a friend of hers on Facebook and said, "Oh yeah, I made the whole thing up, ha 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 ha," and they've overturned the conviction now, and he's getting out of jail. I'm not saying
he doesn't have much of a suit, though. I don't think.
I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate victims. What I'm saying is A. It
diminishes real, actual victims.
Yes.
And I've told you this before. I talked to you during the lunch today. When I was working sex assaults, we found out that depending upon the month, etc., 30 to 40 to 50%, occasionally more, of our cases of rape were bullshit. But the only way we found out is we had to do a complete investigation. Demi, for the people that are listening on the radio.
She just got me again.
And are not watching on YouTube or any of our broadcast platforms like Periscope or Facebook. Demi just walked up to Sean and whapped him with some claws.
And teeth.
I
got it twice, too. After I shook her off the first time, she circled under the table and came back through and got me again. What the hell?
Yeah. Whiskey Dale in chat said, you know what? Do you hear that? I think it sounds like something similar to the Me Too movement just imploding. Okay, we've got 8 more minutes left or so. I got a 3-minute cut that I'd love to play.
Yeah.
Because this is illustrative of just what Whiskey Dale said. Now, this is a panel conducted by CNN, and I have no idea where they got the women, but it's like the high expectations of how does that phrase go? The high expectations of blah blah blah. Anyway, this is a CNN female anchor who is speaking to females and definitely expects one outcome, and then somehow she's getting another outcome.
How many of you believe Judge Kavanaugh when he says this didn't happen?
I believe him.
I do believe him.
I believe him.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women.
The word of a woman, or something that happened 36 years ago, when this guy has an impeccable reputation. There was nobody that has spoken ill will about him. Everyone that speaks about him, this guy's an altar boy, a scout. He's, because one woman made an allegation. Sorry, I don't buy it.
But in the grand scheme of things, my goodness, there was no intercourse. There was maybe a touch.
Right.
Can we really? 36 years later, she's still stuck on that? Had it happened?
I mean, we're talking about a 15-year-old girl, which I respect. I'm a woman, I respect. And we're talking about a 17-year-old boy in high school with testosterone running high. Tell me what boy hasn't done this in high school. Please, I would like to know.
Why would she come forward if this wasn't true? Because it has basically destroyed her family.
Okay, so this is Randy Kay, a CNN correspondent who has to make sure that she pushes back because she can't take that crap sitting down.
Had to move. She's gone undercover. She's gotten death threats. So if she's lying, why come forward?
She's also destroying his life, his wife's lives, his children's lives, his career. I mean, why didn't she come out sooner if she's telling the truth?
Why didn't she come out when he was going into the Bush White House? Why didn't?
Oh, you should see the look of on Randy Kay's face. This is not what she wanted or expected.
Why didn't she come out when he's been a federal judge for over a decade?
Why not have a
that was a black chick saying that.
Thorough investigation instead of just the two of them, he said, she said.
Because it doesn't matter. It does not matter what everyone else has to say.
This is what happened, though, with Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. The FBI investigated. It took 3 days. Done. Why not now?
Well, this is not the same. This is a high school kid. I mean, it's not Anita Hill story.
Does something that allegedly happened some 30-plus years ago matter today?
You can't judge the character of a man based on what he did at 17.
And I would hate to think that 30, 40 years later, somebody's going to destroy your life because somewhere at some party you it's not right, but maybe you touch somebody the way you're
And
not
who
supposed
brought the
to.
alcohol for these kids?
As women, though, do you have some sympathy for her for what she's going through?
No, I have no sympathy. And perhaps maybe at that moment she liked him, and maybe he didn't pay attention to her afterwards, and he went out with another girl, and she got bitter, or whatever the situation is. They're kids.
If it is true, would it be okay with you if he became a justice on the Supreme Court?
As long as that's an isolated incident, yes.
He was 17. He was not even an adult. And we all make mistakes at 17. I believe in a second chance.
I'd be
not exactly what she was going to, thinking that she was going to get.
I think by and large, those women are speaking towards most people in this country.
Yes,
I think most people
agree.
are of the mindset of, okay, let's say it did happen. Let's say at 17 he got drunk and tried to feel blazy up. And she didn't like it. Maybe she did push him away at 17. Okay, that was 30 plus years ago. He was a 17-year-old boy who was under the influence of alcohol.
Okay, we got 4 minutes left to the end of the show. This is probably a perfect time for this question.
Yes.
In considering the totality of these circumstances, and no one knows, no one has any idea what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is either going to be more kabuki theater, a shit show, or it'll be a big nothing burger. Probably one of those three. How much do you think, Sean, this will affect the midterms? Are people finally up to here with this crap?
Yes.
And they're starting to say, that's enough. I can't take any more.
I think people
and all these people that are pressing this crap, I'm done with you.
I think people, by and large, are starting to see the pattern in the Democrats' history of what they will support and what they won't support. This has nothing to do with policies. This has to do with their tactics. I think people are getting angry at their tactics. Look, we talked about Keith Ellison, right? Video evidence, photographic evidence, text messages, calls to the police, 911 calls, all this other stuff. Nobody's mentioned it.
Cory Booker having written...
He's about to be a state attorney general. He was a state representative, and he's the vice chair of the DNC. And that has no discussion whatsoever. Kavanaugh, who up until he was nominated for a Supreme Court justice, nobody had a damn bad thing to say, including those on the left. But because Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't retire under Obama and give him a chance to fill that seat, and she's the one who screwed the Democrats, now they will do whatever they can to destroy Judge Kavanaugh. And I believe this is all political theater. Like I said, if he got drunk at a party and felt her up when he was 17, we can have that conversation about how you shouldn't do that when you're 17.
Right. Move on.
Right. 36 years ago.
And if it's still affecting your life, that, to me, damn me for saying this, that's more of a reflection on you than it is on him.
But what I'm saying is that is not the person that he... And it's so funny because to tie this in politically to the Democrats' game, you look at Beto O'Rourke down in Texas and all the things... He was arrested for armed robbery, drunk driving, hit and run.
Drunk driving, yep.
All these other things. And their whole thing is, well, he was a younger, confused man back then.
Well, Goose Gander. Hello, Goose Gander.
So... if you agree with that, then you apply it here. If you're a Democrat and you're a male and you can't see the danger in this process of you are in a position of power and somebody makes a false accusation and now you could potentially have everything go away.
It's right out of Monty Python.
Never mind his emails that his wife has gotten. The fact that when his daughters were brought in for the confirmation hearing, the swearing and the screaming and the words that were being said about him, all of these different things that goes right back to rules for radical. You say a lie, you repeat it. And when people push back...
Joseph Goebbels and also the guy that you keep telling me about. Bernays.
Yep. When they push back, you just raise the rhetoric and you pile it on until people eventually go away and get on board. I hate to say it. Look, and I said this earlier and I'll say it again. If we had a victim who came forward and said, I need to speak to somebody because this happened, and I'm going to speak with anybody on the committee that will talk to me, that's a little bit different. But when you were lawyered up and your lawyer's hanging out with Hillary Clinton and you run in political circles and you've scrubbed your Facebook and you've done all of these different things, you've made allegations about other judges or said that people should be making false accusations just to keep them from getting confirmed. When you've shown that you have a political bias and then you make an accusation with no evidence to support it, and the only evidence you do offer is being debunked by the alleged people who were there. You have 65 women come out and said, I've worked with him, I've known him, he's been my best friend. All of these things, he would not do that. You have his wife who's standing by him. You have all of these different things. And now you have these two guys who said, hey, she could have confused them for me.
When you pull the pin on a grenade and you throw it into a room, sometimes you're going to catch some shrapnel yourself. Before we go, here's a little article that I'd like to just toss out in the mix that I found before I came here tonight. This is from the Washington Examiner. Just the headline is all you need to know. Top Minnesota newspaper sues to unseal Keith Ellison divorce records.
Let's have it, baby.
Let's have it. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, okay? Yeah. Dave Milner makes a great observation in chat. He says if you're a Democrat and you're a male, guess what? You're next.
Absolutely.
It's
already happened.
It has happened, and it will continue to happen. It's the hierarchy of victims.
Hey, when's Bill Clinton going to jail?
Yeah. All animals are equal.
Bill Cosby just went to jail.
Yep.
We've had, 12 rape allegations against Bill Clinton? Yep. He's paid out civil suit?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So when's he going to?
Animal Farm. All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. Folks, thanks for being here tonight. This was the Sackheads Against Tyranny. That's Sackheads Shaun. I'm Sackheads BZ. Tomorrow night, in the saloon, Shannon and Mike. Next Tuesday night, the creator of the walkaway movement himself, I'm going to be talking to Brandon Straka next Tuesday. Next Thursday, Melanie Collette. Thanks for being here. Now you're acting like Sackheads Clint. Folks, God bless. Take care.
Good
See
night.
you later.